Antoinette, how's everyone doing?
Good.
Are you glad to be here?
Heck yeah!
Good. I am too. Oh, you got me running already. Well, let's start again. My name is Antoinette, and I am the owner-operator of MBS Administrative Services. Let's see how well our technology works today. The seed that started MBS Administrative Services started when I was in college, in my undergrad. And I accepted a challenge from one of my professors to write a business plan for extra credit. And because of my love of the internet and technology, I created a company from outer space. And that's how MBS Administrative Services was born. I actually filed that business plan away after I got my extra credit and let it stay there. But many moons later, in graduate school, I ran into outsourcing. And I thought about that business plan that I did as an extra credit project, and that's how we got MBS Administrative Services. We are a US-based outsourced company that provides virtual administrative support, live receptionists, and communications. A lot of times when I'm working with clients, they ask me, well, what is outsourcing and how can you help me? So businesses delegate their business processes to us so that we can help them become more effective. In a nutshell, what we do is that we help companies and individuals become more effective at what they do so that they can make more money. Benjamin Franklin already said it, time is money. If you go to start a business, or if you're already in a business, you know that you're in a for-profit organization, and you're going to recognize the comparison between time and money. Our core values: experience, knowledge, and care. The experience: each one of our team members have at least 20 years of experience in the area that is their expertise. Why is that of value to you? Because that's the most valuable asset that we offer to you, is our experience. The knowledge: although we have the knowledge along with that experience continues to evolve because we listen to our current clients and our past clients, and we listen to each other. The care is really important. When we partner with other companies, the most important thing that we share is the care of promoting their brand. Back office support is one of the services that we offer. There's going to be virtual administrative support. That may be a virtual assistant, that may be bookkeeping, that may be payroll, HR support, social media, the list would go on and on for that. Communications, internal and external. That may be software, platforms, file syncing, whatever systems you need to communicate internally and externally. Front office support, one of our prime services, live receptionists. We have a dedicated team of professionals that will answer phones for you. Why is that important for companies? Because when someone's calling your company for the first time or the second time or the third time, the way the person answers the phone is going to reflect your values, your mission, and what you want to do for the company. We answer live 24/7, coast to coast. You get your messages either via email or text. Another popular question: benefits of outsourcing. Well, I understand what you do, but I don't know how that's really going to help me and my company. One of the biggest benefits is increased in effectiveness. Save time and cost, make more money, increase goal attainment. All of these go back to time and money. If you're in business, you're going to have a strategic business plan. In that strategic business plan, you're going to have goals set for yourself, goals set for your team, and goals set for your corporation. We help you attain all those goals because we encourage you to delegate all those processes that are repetitive so that you have more time to be actively involved in revenue generating behaviors, which is going to lead to revenues, and those revenues are going to lead to profits. People ask, well, when will we use us? We don't know what to delegate to you. So I brought up a few examples of what companies use when they decide to outsource their services to us. And that would be scheduling conflicts. Well, my staff needs a lunch. We want them all to go to lunch together. We want you to handle the phones while we do that. Leadership development training. What company would not invest in their people? So we give them the opportunity to train their people. They can focus on the training, and we focus on the jobs that they were doing while they did that. Project management. Maybe you have some other projects that are brewing, your team is good, they're excellent, but you don't want to pull them off of what they're already doing. You bring us in to handle that project. Project realignment. Maybe you've already separated your team. They're running projects simultaneously, but something is missing. So you would bring us in to fill in the gap. As a virtual administrator, I'm going to tell everyone, my current clients and my past clients, you need to systemize everything if you want to save time and be more effective to make more money. I always recommend Michael Gerber, The E-Myth Revisited. Any questions?
Do you deal, I noticed on your website that you're global. Do you deal mostly with companies locally or in the United States? Who uses you the most?
I think there's kind of 3 questions in one. I can tell you that some of my first clients were outside of North Carolina. And the reason why I chose to network in Fayetteville, because I believe that charity starts at home. So why can I saturate a market in another area when I can't take my own space? So the answer to your question is yes. I have local clients. I have clients in other states. And then I have ventured into Canada, working on New Mexico. Another question?
What benefit do you provide versus an offshore outsourcing company?
Great question. Back to outsourcing. Is everyone familiar with outsourcing in the room? Are you familiar with the terminology offshore? Well, for a long time I wasn't. But you know what that means is that you take a job from the United States and you ship it to the Philippines. And so the benefit of us being a US-based outsourced company is that when you're going to the Philippines or other countries, you're talking about a time gap. So when you need something done, you have to consider the time zone there and when they're actually going to get to it as opposed to when you need it. Number 2, the communication barriers. That if English is not their native language, unless you know that second language and kind of the nuances around it, there's going to be an issue of what you want and what they believe you want and actually what you get. The 3rd most popular issue is blackouts. That they can say, yes, I'll have it for you Monday morning, 9 a.m., and then the whole system is wiped out for the weekend, and you're stuck with nothing. So the benefit that we have is that we're US-based outsourced company. Great question. Anyone else?
So sometimes we have things come up with a project, so we could use you just temporarily during the peak period.
That is correct. That is correct. We're designed to be fill in the gap. We do transactions based off of the contracted project, and once that's over, then we're not with you again until you call us again. However, we do have services that are on retainer, meaning that if you know I'm going to need this, this, and this, but I don't know when I'm going to need it, but I want to make sure that when I need it, you're available, then you can do retainer as well. So it's either or. Great question. There was someone else.
What are some of the businesses or industries that are using you now? Are you servicing medical, construction, real estate?
Great question. Great question. Believe it or not, accountants, attorneys, IT industry, bookkeepers, authors, coaches. I'm running through my mind here. Entertainment, sports writers, the list goes on and on. But I haven't had a medical facility yet, but it's coming soon. There was someone in the back that had a question.
Who do you hire? Like we have a program office administration. We have students graduating with administrative support background. So if they were interested in trying to go to work for you, what do you require? How do they find you? And
Great question. Great question. As I said before, the team members that work with MBS Administrative Services, they are independent contractors. And one of the requirements is that they have to have at least 20 years of experience in their industry. The reason why that's important is because part of our target market, they're going to be either in the beginning stages, the middle stages, or an advanced stage. And they have to have the experience, because this is what we're selling, to be able to recognize where they are and be able to visualize where they got to go. And they had to have helped the team or themselves have gotten there so they can give that sound advice. That's the experience that we offer that's different between the virtual receptionist services, the virtual assistants. I can tell you, I started out as a virtual assistant, just in graduate school, just doing one service. But because of my experience in management, with over 20 years experience in management, all of a sudden they kept saying, well, you're not just a virtual assistant, you're doing this, and then I became a virtual consultant, and I trained virtual assistants. But back to your question, originally, we hire as contractors, not as employees. So they have to be able to bring something to the table. We considered possibly interns, but I offer classes to teach on how to be a virtual assistant, but I'm actually teaching entrepreneurship. I'm not teaching employee. So it's going to be difficult for someone with an employee mindset to kind of work with us, because our clients depend on the fact that we know what we're doing, that I signed on a dotted line, I signed a non-disclosure, I pay the money, and I know it's done. I'm not going to have to train you, I'm not going to have to micromanage you, I'm not going to have to talk to you. I just know that whatever date it says, I need it there. Does that make sense? But I do give classes on virtual assistants so that they can learn how to start their business, do what they do. Great question.
What is a virtual assistant and what do they do? What can they do?
Virtual assistant is a very easy process now. It's going to be anyone that works remotely. So you have a lot of people that are virtual assistants, but they wouldn't call themselves virtual. Maybe an IT person, or maybe someone that's in another state working for a company. But it really means remote access. You're trained in whatever area that you're in, and you can specialize in social media, websites, you can specialize in blogging, you can specialize in editing and proofreading. I started out with research. I was a great researcher because I was in school. So people just needed me to do community research, business research. I'm getting ready to go meet a cold call with a client. I need to know everything about that person so I know where his hot buttons are. That's kind of the sales process. So a virtual assistant will specialize, some just specialize in answering the phones. You'll have virtual assistants that just answer phones. But that's what they do. They just do that from home, and that's the only service they have. I kind of graduated into a virtual consultant, meaning that because I'm a systems person, I kind of come in and look at systems. Okay, you're not being very productive here. Maybe you need to do this so that you can do this better. Because I migrated to that, I moved from a virtual assistant to a virtual consultant. Great question. Anyone else? Yes.
So those who are employed under your business, they are considered pretty much self-employed.
Correct.
So as far as benefits or anything like that, insurance, they would go outside on their own as any other self-employed person.
That is correct, and that's one of the major benefits that we have to companies that help them save on costs, is that they're not paying any of the payroll expenses, they're not paying any of the benefits, they don't have to pay any of the taxes. We handle that ourselves, and because we're all independent contractors, they sign a non-disclosure with me, they sign a contract agreement with me. Let me back. Everything that I do is under contract. There's no promises. Oh, we're going to do this for you, and I'm going to pay you this much. It's in writing and it's signed. It's a legal document. That's the only way we operate. Our non-disclosures are not just for the project, but they're up to 10 years after the project. Sometimes it's indefinitely. Even some of the companies that I work with, I can't even disclose that I work for them, except they tell me that, yes, you can tell them that we did so-and-so, so are you doing so-and-so, or they will tell the public themselves, such as the P3 group. Some of you may know me from the P3 group, Elisa Thomas. So she will go out and say, okay, this is Antoinette, this is my executive assistant. Another company, the Rogers Law Firm. Great question. Anyone else?
Do you do an analysis of companies to tell them where you can help them?
Yes, that comes in the consultation. I still do free consultations because I want everyone that's a match for our company that we have the opportunity to partner with. So before I can recommend any kind of system and do anything, I have to work with them. There are some that say, oh, well, I want to know what I need to do right. Well, I don't know until I see what you're doing. Anyone that can walk up to you and tell you in one day how you need to rearrange your whole system, don't listen to them run. And that's it, and I get people who want that. Well, this has been 30 days, I need this. Well, you got to set parameters. It's a great question. When you're working as a contractor, you got to set benchmarks. You got to set benchmarks. You got to look at the whole scenario and see what is it that they want and what is it you can really do. And those benchmarks need to be clear up front so that when you hit them, there's no how do I say it? There's no discrepancy on whether we're bringing value to the team. Make sense?
How do you market yourself? What's your most successful strategy for recruiting new clients?
What I'm doing now, word of mouth, networking, presentations. Every Thursday from 4:30 to 5:30, I am the co-organizer of the first virtual Women's Power Networking chapter. It made sense because I was a virtual consultant. And every week we're having trainings or sessions on something to deal with women in business. A lot of other organizations that I work with because of my passions in the mission area. But there's many marketing ways. There's SEO, there's advertisements, there's all of those things. But all the research that I've done and my limited experience compared to experience at bigger companies, for me, it's been word of mouth and referrals. Anyone else?
What's one of the biggest challenges you face by being a virtual business?
Explaining what a virtual business is and the benefits of a virtual business. So when clients contact me, it's a two-way interview. They're asking me what is it that you can do for me, and I'm asking myself what is it that I can do for you. It's got to be a good match. Sometimes there are no systems, so that's going to take a lot more time because we're not just doing systems, we're educating how to run a business. Sometimes companies don't need an outsourced company yet. They need a business coach. They need some background education. There's some other things, and sometimes I have to recommend that you do these things first. They need a small business center. They need the SBA. They need the C in order to allow me to assist them. An example of that is a business plan. I always tell people, you can use all of these resources to get a business plan for free, but it's going to take you some time. Now, you can pay me to do a business plan, but I promise you, the value that you would learn in doing it yourself by using the free resources will be more valuable to you than me saving you time and making the business plan. But if you want me to do it, I will most definitely do it. My company started because a professor challenged me. I want you to make a business plan, and I wrote that business plan. I wasn't serious about it. I said, okay, I'm going to company from outer space. And it was a joke. I got the points. I made the 8, and I filed that business plan, and it sat there for 10 or 15 years. Until here we are. The joke was on me. Next question.
I do have another question. As mentioned before, we have an office administration program here on campus, and we're always concerned about what types of skills we need to continue teaching, what's obsolete, and what do we need to do away with. One of the major ones is transcription. And we are one of the few schools who has not done away with that skill. And I'm wondering, are some of those skills that were at one time looked at as obsolete really obsolete? And what types of skills would you encourage that we would teach for an employee to become a virtual administrator?
That's a great question. It depends on what side of the fence you're on. I'm a believer that the foundational things will never go away. Now, I love technology, but there are virtual assistants that specialize in transcription, and so you have to analyze that particular market because sometimes for them, is it tough getting work? Yes. but when they get work, it goes a long way because it's larger companies that need that service. I would recommend them do what everyone else does, research the industry. See what the salaries are, see what the needs are, do that research and do your cost analysis on it to see is it viable for the students. You know, if you listen to the economy, they're going to tell most people don't even go to college now because when you graduate, you're going to be in debt and you're not going to have a job. So, you know, sometimes you have to kind of weigh the pros and cons of the situation. But for me, all the skills that I use in business school and all the skills I learned in the real world, and then all the new stuff that my clients teach me every day, it takes all of that to be successful. There's nothing I could say to get rid of. You know, I had someone call me and say, hey, can you type a paper? I was like, wow, thank you for that. You brought me back down to earth. Thank you for that. Yes, I can type a paper. You know, I haven't done it in years, but we can do that. Go ahead.
So it seems to me like being a virtual assistant or a virtual admin is really appealing to especially like stay-at-home moms and women. Do you get a lot of women who want to do that on a part-time basis, or are you looking for full commitments?
Remember, if you're going to be a virtual assistant, the best thing to be is an independent contractor because you control your time. Now, you technically can be a virtual assistant and be an employee. There are a lot of scenarios like that. But that is the myth that is mostly women and is mostly stay-at-home moms. When you get in the industry, I'm a part of the International Virtual Assistants Association, you're going to see men and women. Men are not so open about saying I'm a virtual assistant. They'll have the more professional titles, but they're still working from home. But you see all of them. And because you're working as a contractor, you determine the hours that you want to work a week. You determine the service you want to offer, and based off of that service, how many hours per week do you need to work to make a profit? Remember, all of this is about a business, whether it's a MLM or whether it's a small business, whether you're going to have a brick and mortar, whether you're going to be at home. If you're going to be a for-profit organization, you need to make a profit. In order to make a profit, you have to determine how much do I need to charge, how many hours is it going to take me, can I make that commitment, and am I committed to making a profitable business? So those are like good questions, but what you really want to focus on is how much money I want to make and am I committed to doing it. And so yeah, there are some people making great money, they're making what they want, only working 10 and 15 hours a week because they want to spend time with their children. I'm a little different because I want to grow a large company because I come out of large companies. And once again, the virtual assistant was kind of, oh, this is a hobby that I could do while I'm in graduate school because I was still playing with it. I didn't realize what the professor had given. I was still playing with it. And so in the jobs that I worked, I was always the person that they call, okay, if you want it done, call Antoinette. That was just it because I'm not an extrovert, I'm an introvert, truly. And so I'm not going to do a whole lot of talking. You're just going to tell me what you want and I'm going to do it. And so people got accustomed to that. Well, when I left the work industry, went back to graduate school, people were still calling me. And I was just, oh yeah, that's cool, I can do it, yeah, let's do this. Until I run into outsource, oh, people get paid for this? So then I said, okay, well, I need you guys to pay me. So I thought they were going to say no. They're like, oh, well, it's about time, business student. I said, what? You guys suck. I said, well, you're the business student. And so I started charging people. So then the hobby went to, you know, a little more hours, and then it went to, oh, I want to do this full time. Make sense? Great question. Anyone else?
The question we're hearing administrative assistant. The parameters of that, do you include like paralegals, etc., or just more of office administration?
There's some things we can't delve into because there's no one on the team that has that certification, and I don't have the background in it. Something that I do as a business owner is that when I delegate, because I have to delegate because I can't do all this by myself, I wouldn't do it, I'd go crazy. That's the reason I have team members, is that you delegate the responsibility or the task, but you don't delegate the accountability. Right. So I have to be very cautious that when I bring on projects And if an independent contractor decides to flake on me, which so far they haven't, or if we have to bring in reinforcements because something happens, we still got to deliver that service. And I can't say right now that if all of a sudden we brought in the paralegal services and they walked away, that I have someone else that can take on that. So you have to be very cautious about the services that you offer, because once again, they're working under the MBS brand. And so that's me all day long. Great question.
I have another question.
Okay.
I mean, questions, I'm sorry. But this is kind of in my area too, so I'm really excited about it. But as an MBS, are you actually contracting these folks out who are independent employees? Are you contracting them out? Are they working under MBS?
Yes and yes.
Okay. Once you contract somebody out, let's say that whomever they're working for, that they're not meeting the requirements. Let's say they're transcribing papers or they're taking messages and they're just not meeting the requirements. Maybe their English isn't as expected, or they're just not getting the job done. Then what happens since they're under that contract?
They lose the contract, just like any other big contractor. You either deliver or you don't deliver. It's, that's why I deal with contracts. Is there's some things that are black and white. When we sign on the dotted line that we're going to do X, Y, Z, we have to do it. If they can't do it, then I got to get someone else to do it, or I have to do it myself. That's the reason why I'm cautious about the services that I offer. Great question.
I'm going to have the last question. What can the community do for you?
Referrals, and make people aware of the services that we offer. Don't become my competitor, because then that's a different conversation.
We thank you.